Alrighty, folks, back again. I told you I was going to be blowing up your YouTube feed. We have another new album review for you today, and this is Venator, Psychodrome. Now, originally, I thought these guys were called Venator, even though it didn't sound right. The closest word it looked like to me was ventilator, so I called them Venator. But before I came to do this video, I was like, I need to double check and see if there's anybody out there that knows how to actually pronounce this thing. And the first guy I found actually pronounced it Venator also, but I was like, I'm gonna get double confirmation. And turns out it's Venator. And I believe that Venator is one of those giant triangular shaped spacecraft battleships in Star Wars. So I'm guessing that's where they got the name. Venator, Psychodrome. So these guys are out of Austria. They formed in 2016. They had an EP and a split album come out in 2020. And then their full-length debut came out in 2022. It was called Echoes from the Gutter. It had pretty good buzz on it. I kept hearing good things about it, so I purchased it. I liked it. So when I saw this one coming out, I was like, I'm definitely going to get this one. So, well, let's show you the CD first. There's band shots in the back there. Of course, this is a Dying Victims production, so you get the sticker. You get the Obi, and it has Echoes from the Gutter on there, and then Paradise or their EP, and then Eyes in Hand, I believe, is the top band, which I've never heard of them, so I don't know anything about them. There you go. Get out the booklet. There's some lyrics. Oop. I always fumble that too. More lyrics. That's a Radar down there. That was the cover. I think they released that as a single. There's a good group shot. We have Anton Holzner on rhythm guitar, Hans Huemer on vocals, Stefan Glasner on bass, Jakob Steidl on drums, and Leon Ehrengruber on lead guitar. That's the best my Austrian can do. More lyrics, another little band shot, and credits on the back there. Just dropping stuff left and right. Alrighty, so the album starts off with the Into the Drome, your typical 1 minute intro instrumental that all the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands are doing. Then we get Steal the Night, chugging, fast-paced tune. It's got really sing-along, catchy verse and chorus. The bass is really prominent in the mix. You get some tasty guitar solos on this one. Your next track's called Children of the Beast. Another punchy riff. Your verse delivery is very similar to Steal the Night, which I'll actually touch on that again. Hold that over there. I'm getting some glare off the window. Good 80s style trade-off leads in this one. Excuse me. Your next track is called Ravening Angel. Good guitar solo intro. Don't have enough songs anymore to get good guitar solos to start the song off. Bass, again, mixed high. Mid-paced cruncher. You get some Thin Lizzy type guitar harmonies in this one. The Final Call is your next track. It's your longest track on the album. This one, your last one had a guitar solo intro. This one has a little drum solo intro, very reminiscent of Am I Evil. The guitars come in. They don't sound like Am I Evil, but they do have a very new wave of British heavy metal feel to them. You even get a bass breakdown in this song that reminds you a lot of Seventh Son, of a Seventh Son. The guitar comes in, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Spoken word comes in, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. But then it builds and builds and builds, and the drums are thrashing away. You get a screaming guitar solo on the outro. The bass player, he does have Steve Harris tendencies. You can tell he's definitely a fan of Steve Harris. He doesn't, and the bass is high in the mix, very prominent in the mix. Not overpowering, it's just prominent in the mix. Very Maiden-esque in that it's high in the mix. He doesn't always mimic Steve Harris. I guess mimic's a bad word. He's not a Steve Harris clone, is what I should say. Your next song is called Radar. Now this song, it is almost exactly, to my ears, exactly like Steal the Night. And the vocal delivery in the verse, I had to go back. When I was first listening to it, I was in the car, so the CD just plays over and over again. And I actually thought the CD had started over again. I was like, man, that was really quick. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a different song. It's so similar that I went and listened to them side by side, back to back. And they were so similar. They're so similar, it's almost like they wrote one song and then decided that they didn't really like it and changed some stuff up and wrote another song, and then they couldn't decide which one they liked best, so they just put both of them on the album. Quite bizarre. Your next track's called Race to Glory. Good rocker, good backing vocals on this one. Not a whole lot of backing vocals on this album. Sorry, my allergies are playing havoc with my sinuses today. Dynamite, good except flavored intro, despite the Scorpions flavored name. It's got some thumping bass. Another verse that's almost as catchy, if not catchier, than the chorus. Some Defenders of the Faith type guitar here. You get another mini drum solo in the middle of the song, and then another scorching fade out solo. I mentioned Defenders of the Faith solo. There's lots of Judas Priest tinge guitar in here, but again, you can just tell there's the influence there, and a lot of the influence does sound like it comes from Defenders of the Faith, but they're not mimicking Judas Priest. It's just, you can tell that they were definitely influenced by Priest. Fear the Light is your next tune. Speaking of Judas Priest, this one's got a very Judas Priest type intro, and it settles down into a slower paced number, probably the slowest paced number on the album. But you get some piercing falsetto in the chorus. He's used hints of falsetto, just very minuscule hints of falsetto throughout the album, but this, he used it predominantly in the chorus. And then your last track is called Astral Seduction. Your Steve Harris bass is back here, and you get some more, I would say, Virgin Steel type falsetto screams, and then good fast-paced closer. No wimping out on the closing here. So I'm going to give this one 8.25 out of 10. I actually think that the two songs that sound very similar, Steal the Night and Radar, the fact that they're so similar probably brings down the grade a little bit. And then Children of the Beast is kind of similar too, so I think that kind of pulled the score down a little bit. Still a really good album, still really enjoyable, really tasty 80s influenced, Judas Priest, Maiden, except Scorpions type vibe. If you like any of those bands, you'll probably definitely like this. I would say the singer, his vocals are very hard to pinpoint as far as who he sounds like. I'd say maybe like a combination of Riot City mixed with Traveler. So not as piercing as Riot City and a little higher than Traveler. But yeah, overall, really good album. Venator, I almost said Venator again. Venator, Psychodrome, 8.25 out of 10. You guys have a good one.